We're also entering 2024 with huge levels of uncertainty. We have two military conflicts going on in the world. You had the highest level of inflation and interest rates in many years. You've got the tension of income inequality. So, with all that uncertainty, how do we think about 2024? My own point of view is there's one overall risk dimension that is more important than all the others, and that is the US election. Today, you really cannot have honest discussions with someone on the other side, either Democrat or Republican, without getting into heated arguments very quickly. And that manifests itself when you look at how Congress functions, where most of the votes are 100% along party lines. So the whole idea that government people will come together, put aside personal differences, and look for compromises is basically gone by the boards. And that means the US is going to continue to be dysfunctional. So the real unanswered question is, how does China think about all this? And I think China would be well served to go back to what its two core strengths are. The core strength number one is its ability to manage its economy over time. And a lot of that strength comes from a couple of things. One, the efficiency and effectiveness of a system. It can put all of its energy around fine tuning the direction that it's already following. The second huge advantage that China has is the best and the brightest have always gone into government service. The best and the brightest in the US have always gone into business. So if you look at the lack of talent in Washington and the lack of maturity of the people in Washington, it's a very different picture from China. The other thing that has served China extremely well is its industrial policy. So we saw China go underdone from low-cost labor to become the manufacturing leader globally. Today, when you look at high-end manufacturing, China is clearly well ahead of anyone on renewable energy, on electric vehicles, on high-speed train, is probably co-equal to anyone on artificial intelligence. The only areas where it still has a gap with the US are nanochips and biotech. But the gaps are closing. So I think it's very important that China be very focused, despite all the turmoil around it in the rest of the world, on economic performance in 2024 and just being very clear on what has served it well. It should also look to minimize its dependence on the West, given the uncertainties in the West. And they're doubling down on the Belt Road Initiative. Clearly makes a lot of sense. That program has positioned China in a far stronger position relative to the West with developing countries. Because rather than basically saying, we're here to bring you democracy and freedom, what China has focused on is bringing infrastructure. And that's what developing countries need. I think no one is going to be able to predict what happens in 2024. The reality is the election in the US is too close to call. Whether we're going to see a 2024 like 2023 is a totally unanswered question. So I think all you can do is go into 2024 with your eyes wide open, focus on the fundamentals that got you to where you are,